Okay.
Okay guys, welcome to another video. In today's video, I'm going to redo my kind of large chopper versus axe test. And in today's test, we're going to use the Skrama Bush Knife. It's about 16 inches overall. It weighs about 18 ounces. Then we're going to use the Fiskers hatchet. It's 14 inches overall, so it's slightly shorter, but they're very comparable in weight. That was a common complaint on my last video, people talking about how the axe was a lot heavier, so you had an unfair advantage. So we're going to start with the Skrama Bush Knife, and I'll do a series of comparisons. Today I'm using the stainless one because of all the snow and the moisture. So right here we have a popple log. It's about 6 inches in diameter. It's probably fairly green, but it might be drying a little bit, and it's about 20 degrees out today, so it's fully frozen, so it might not chop as well as it would for other people. So the first thing I'm going to do, 10 chops with the Skrama, 10 knives with the hatchet. Good? Mm-hmm. Right here. Okay. 11 chops. So now, I'm going to do that same 11 chops right up here, and we'll just compare. So fairly comparable. I did notice because you have kind of more mass in a smaller area, this one was digging a lot deeper. So now we'll finish this chop with the Fiskers hatchet. I chopped with this one second. I'm slightly more tired out, but nonetheless, this one did seem like it did tire me out as much, and it felt more efficient. It felt like I was getting more work done with each chop. This is the Hardcore Hammers Naturalist hatchet, and this is kind of a wild card. I forgot that I brought this along. So this one is slightly heavier, slightly longer handle, but still fairly comparable. So we'll just chop right about here. So we just got done chopping with the Skrama Bush Knife, the Fiskers hatchet, and the Hardcore Hammers Naturalist or Outdoors hatchet. Of the three, I chopped with this one last, so I was the most tired out, and to me it felt like this was the most efficient. Okay guys, I just want to share the results of the chop test I did earlier this afternoon. It's about
10, 11 o'clock at night, and I just got home now. I was pretty much out the whole day, having a lot of fun. So the results of the chop test were pretty interesting. I'll throw out the numbers and then I'll just give you a couple of my thoughts and opinions. The Skrama Bush Knife is 17 ounces and 17 inches long. It took 70 seconds to chop through the 6-inch poplar green log, and it took a grand total of 64 chops. The Fiskers 14-inch hatchet weighs 22 ounces, is 13.5 inches long. It took 55 seconds to cut all the way through the log, and it took 58 chops. The hardcore hammer hatchet axe, carpenter's axe, it's 28 ounces in weight, 17 inches overall. It took 55 seconds to chop completely through the log, and it took 38 chops. So real quick, this is kind of the main comparison I wanted to make for a couple of reasons. First, both these are made in Finland. Fiskers, this is not the X7, but it's nearly identical. It just has the black handle. I used this a little bit more than, just what I filmed kind of throughout the day. This was kind of my go-to axe, because I just bought this a couple of days ago, and I used it with a factory edge the day that I bought it, and it worked. But like a lot of you out there, I like kind of modifying my gear to make it unique to me. So I wanted to test this. So throughout the day, I was cutting. We were doing a lot of different stuff, shelters and some firecraft stuff. So this was kind of my go-to. And what surprised me is I was using this in place of a knife. So a lot of places where I'd pull a knife out, I was using this. Feather sticking. Okay, I don't want to get too far down a rabbit hole. I'm going to do a complete review on this awesome axe. It's about the best $25 I've spent. Okay, but hopefully you can see again. But it's shaving. It's shaving hair off my off my arm. Very sharp. This thing it's a powerhouse. When it came to chopping, this was the lightest out of the three, and you guys might know I have a bias against large choppers, or I have a bias more towards axes and hatchets. It's just, in my growing up, that's how I roll, I guess you could say. If it involves a chopping motion onto hard or soft wood, and not vines and not brush, but wood, logs, sticks, I'm going to choose a hatchet or an axe before a large knife. So with that being said, I'm not going to skew the results. I didn't skew the results. This took 64 chops, and the Fiskers this took 64, and the Fiskers took 58. Fairly comparable. Like I said, this didn't feel as effective. It didn't feel like I was being as effective with my chops. Conversely, keep in mind this is not a singular use tool. So this isn't designed just to chop through logs. And many people would say that what I was chopping is too big for this type of knife, and I would agree. It did take a fair amount of energy, but I was surprised it only took 70 seconds. So, again, I have a bias towards hatchets. I have a bias towards axes for forestry, limbing, felling trees, anything to do with trees, right? So the large chopping knife, to me, I always wondered, and I always was interested. So I did want to go out of my comfort zone. I did want to research and study and see, because I'm, just as with a lot of you guys, I'm willing to change my opinions if my knowledge base and my experience changes. I don't know. It seems like most intelligent people would do that. So did this beat the Fiskers? Did this beat either axe? It didn't. But with that being said, for doing knifey tasks, slicing, feather sticking, well, the Fiskers, it is surprisingly easy to carve with. With that being said, you only have about 2.5 inches of blade. With this, you have about 8 inches, 9 inches, I think, of blade. So if you're carving, you can start here, and as you go down, see how much real estate you have? So you can carve out here, you can carve middle, you can carve back here. This even has kind of a compound grind, so it has a slightly finer grind here, meant for fine carving. It's a knife, just slightly larger. With that being said, it's long, but it's 17 ounces. It still feels like a large knife. This is my version of a Rambo knife, kind of that dual one-tool option, as some of you guys might refer to it. This is my one-tool option, okay? So I don't have anything against large choppers, but just when it comes to physics, when you have the same amount of weight, I am barefoot. I don't want to cut my hands off, cut my toes off. I've already done that a couple times in my life. The balance point, see? So this is balancing right, kind of right in the middle. This, see where it balances in relation to where your hand is. So the balance point is farther out, meaning this feels more head heavy, but I can exert the same amount of power or force on that blade with less effort here. Or if I give the same amount of power with this as I do with this will cut deeper, and this will cause more damage than this. It's physics. But like I said, this, you have more blade to work with. If you dull out this part of the blade from chopping, we'll start chopping with this part and this part and this part. The other thing is, this is easier to baton with, but this does have more mass. It's easier to split with. Again, though, this isn't a splitting axe. So if you're talking about splitting down 6-inch rounds, I can do it with this. I might miss a couple times, but I can power through it and split with this, or I can put the 6-inch log and baton through. I'm getting the same results. So between the two, I don't think there's a clear winner. Again, value-wise, they're both excellent values. 65 to 70 with shipping. I just picked this up for $22.90 or $24.99 from Menards about 4 days ago. Finland produced, so that gives each one an extra like 20 points in my book. So yeah, overall, I do have a bias towards hatchets over choppers of similar weight. But with that being said, this performed. It didn't leave me wanting more. And the results spoke for themselves, but the results did not surprise me, just based simply on physics. You have the same, similar amounts of weight. You have more of the weight away, so you have more leverage or more swinging power. And with this, you have the 17 ounces divided, because you saw the balance point was nearly in the middle. But I will say I was chopping that 6-inch log. I wouldn't chop anything bigger with this. I guess that's long story short. If you guys like this video, feel free to like. If you have any insight, maybe some questions, I'm willing to have kind of a discussion down in the comments. Leave some comments below. I enjoy those. If you haven't already, go back to my homepage, watch my current videos. If you like what you see, feel free to subscribe.